Hello everyone, I'm Amin from a Frank Collective. So this is Ankit, a self-taught motion designer based in Gujarat, and he works with incredible studios like Moto, Irregular Lines, Aqua Designs, High Motion, Man vs. Type, and so and so. So Ankit will be sharing his story about motion and his new job at Moto and how he juggles with between work, travel, and time zones. So let's get started, Ankit. So, can you introduce yourself and your background and what you studied, how you happened to across motion design? When did it all start? So it's a big lot
Thanks
of
for
questions, so you
having.
can start one by one.
All right, yeah. Firstly, thank you so much, Amin and Vishal, for having me. What an honor to be on our first podcast. And yeah, like I'm Ankit. I'm a self-taught motion designer based out of Gujarat, and I'm also known as the art artist. By the way, most of people know me by that. And yeah, so I never studied anything. Like after my high school, I basically started learning everything on my own from YouTube. And it also happened to be time of Corona. So at that time, I was like doing literally nothing and just like wandering around YouTube and everything. But it started a while back when I actually got my first DSLR camera, and I really had a love for photography and filmmaking. So I was aware of already some tools and everything in terms of like Photoshop, Lightrooms, and all. And I was like recording this video, and one day my friend thought like, how can we animate some kind of titles and everything? So that is the time like I briefly found After Effects because Premiere's title animation and everything really sucked and I didn't love that at all. So that's how like I started. Uh, I got introduced to After Effects, I guess. So yeah, and after that, like you come across all the tutorials and everything like Video Copilot and School of Motion and everything. So that helps a lot. So yeah, I guess that's how I started and got into motion design.
So, have you got any design background, like other than
Um,
you're saying you were self-taught, right? So,
yeah,
what's
so I don't
Mhm.
think there is any actually because like all my family background or anyone from my family, no one is into art field, so it feels great that I'm able to do what I love. And I literally learned everything from YouTube and whatever because like there's a lot of free materials out there that you can use to learn anything nowadays. So that helps a lot. And as you start to keep growing and you get some work and everything, you can definitely get a lot of courses and everything as well. But it's also important to know like where you want to go. So yeah, I think like that helps a lot.
awesome, awesome. So I was thinking, like, how are you able to work with, companies like Man vs. Type and Irregular Lines and these people? These are very big shots in Indian design industries. So yeah, can you
Yeah,
share
definitely.
about it?
So I feel somehow I have been very lucky enough to be able to work with like great studios and some of them who are already making great cultural difference in India as well. So luckily, all the work, like literally most of my work, like 75 to 80%, I have come across from Instagram only because it's all about like how you connect with all the people and like you are just being available for any kind of collaborations and everything. So I remember how I got my internship with Irregular Alliance. So one day Anand had posted this story like they are looking for a motion designer for some sort of small help with like notice and everything. And I literally just DM'd him like I'm up for that if you are still looking for someone. And within few hours, we are literally like solving the problem they had. And later on, I realized that was like for Spotify's Diwali campaign, and it turned out to be like one of the best uh, work experience that I have got. So I think most of the time it's more about you being there for opportunity and like just right time, right luck, I guess.
So you put work out there and attract clients. That's what you said.
Yeah, so that helps a lot.
Mhm.
And in fact, for man versus type as well, I literally just DM'd him if I can just animate his one of typography. I have been like a huge fan of Matt Voyas and everyone, so I thought it would be great to animate something and bring that international culture, I guess, to Indian motion design as well. And yeah, he was also up for that, and we like started collaborating on the same. And it's like 2.5 years or something. We have collaborated on a lot of like personal and client projects as well.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, so you're working at somewhere, right? Like the design agency called Moto. It's based
Yeah,
out of US, right?
yeah, New York.
So can
So they are the
you
big branding agency, and yeah, we so
how did
Moto
you
is like.
get the connection to able to work with him? How it all started?
So you might already know this, like cold mailing from Freelance Manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
But I took a little different approach. So instead of emailing to like all the people or HRs and everyone, I DM'd the founder literally,
Oh, okay.
and they, in fact, happened to like
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
again, yeah, and
Okay.
happened to see the like mail like the message I said, and they really loved the work that I was doing and everything. And after that, like we did like a small freelance project for some time, and they were quite impressed by all the work and what kind of work they are doing and what I wanted to do as well. So you might already know like a lot of my work is like brand focus, and that also like that goal was the same as well. And one day like we just wrapped up one of their personal favorite project, and the founder literally just asked me if I would like to join more as a full time as well instead of just freelancing. And
Nice,
I was
nice.
like, yeah, it was like a no brainer for me to say no.
Awesome, awesome. So he asked you out of the blue, just join our company.
To actually see. And yeah, that was like very surprising as well because like it's like you help some studio on their one of their personal project they are working on, and they get really inspired by the work that you do. And they also it's also about like how much value you bring to the table as well. So they already know like I wanted to get more into motion for brands, and their goal was also the same, so it made like a really great sense to join the forces with them.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So you're mentioning motion for brands, right? So
Yeah.
what exactly you mean? Like, what is motion for brands?
So you might be aware of brand identities and guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
So what if we add like all brand guidelines basically have all sets of rules of how to use logo, wordmark, and everything, but there is no option for brand motion in the brand guidelines. Like in case any brand is like launching anytime soon, how would they know how their brand should move? Because they already know how it looks and feels. So it's most of the times when I say like brands in motion or something. So it's that like where you are. Sorry,
Yeah.
what's the name? Yeah. So most of the time it's that only like adding new sets of motion guidelines that can be like that can mean like users animating their motion identities or big as like creating toolkits like Andrew Wuko and the team Wuko does.
So you said rules for more for the brand guidelines, right? You said rules
Yeah.
how things move across design across devices. That's what you meant.
Yeah. Yeah, so understanding all the brand attributes and basically like motion is in a way emotion, I believe. So
Mm-hmm.
you can see like once anything is moving really fast, how what kind of message it would be conveying, or if anything is like moving like very gently. So yeah, that also communicates a lot without many of us realizing the same. So yeah, and it's also called motion guidelines as well. So in a way, like all sorts of rule for any kind of brand that want to start with motion.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Glad to hear that. So I just have a one doubt around the motion guidelines. Now, how do you know prepare the files for these? So how are you handing over these motion guidelines to the designers or product or these brand people?
So there are like literally lots of tools for the same as well. There's one called standard, and you might know this tool called pitch as well. So you basically like create like a Google Doc, but that's like created in these like standard or pitch document where you are just like designing all sort of layouts and do's don'ts for the brands like guidelines and how like ties should be moving, how you should be using all these colors and everything as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that's like a guideline but animated. So yeah.
So if people in product want to implement your animation in the product, so you give them the animation or do you give them the values, the X, Y's positions to the designers? How do
So
you prefer?
I think that also depends in terms of what sort of scope of work we have. Sometimes we are just, they might have already great internal team as well. So they would not need like guidelines or anything because they can already, because you know, like after experience, you already know, like you need to move in certain things like this and not like this and all. So most of the times you might be just handing over the working files, but when you are also delivering the guidelines as well, so at that point it depends on definitely like how much they are interested in investing on the same. You might know this great example for IBM by Bug. So they have like a huge budget, right? So they can literally just create the website for that. So everyone from all of their team, like because they have so many offices and everything. So it makes sense for them to just create like a website and putting out all sorts of rule downloadable files and everything. And when like a client is not as huge as IBM or anything, they can invest in this great tools like standards or pitch, I guess. So, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, let's move on to the next creative process things. So, what is your creative process looks like? You how do you approach if a brands come to you and they wanted to create emotion guidelines? How do you approach them?
So, like, it definitely starts with a discovery call with them and like getting the project lead, I guess, and understanding what sort of goal they have because sometimes they might not know like how much beneficial motion guidelines can be. So it's also about you like teaching them a bit as well. Considering in I've seen a lot of studios in India are not a lot like as much as aware of motion guidelines and everything, but they are all like getting there, slowly. So my process defines in I basically have like a three sort of questions like why, how, and what. So in the why, I'm understanding all sorts of goal, why we need to move, like why we are moving anything, from literally like any sort of like symbol, animation to type and everything that needs to have like a meaning behind the same. And why, then there is a what. So sorry, there is how after that. So how you are moving, basically what sorts of assets and everything they have, and whether we are just doing anything for digital or websites and anything because you might be creating everything differently. And then comes the what. So what type of animation you want, what type of animation or like emotion you want when you look at, like when your audience will interact with all sorts of motion and everything. So I think there are like these sort of discovery like sort of questions that I ask normally, and after like understanding understanding the same. It's more about art direction for the same, because when by the time people like any kind of studios or anyone would come, they all already have great sorts of guidelines and everything. So yeah, it makes sense to start with something like this.
So you start with the existing assets they provide and then
Yeah,
build out from that, right?
yeah.
Awesome.
Like any kind of studio or agency would already might have rebranded, or if it's a new project, they would already have like all
Yeah.
sorts of brand guidelines and everything. So it's more about me entering and creating this sort of motion solution and guidelines and everything.
Yeah. Since it's a very new to the motion industry as a motion, setting guides for motions, I
Yeah.
think the clients already knew about these things, right? If the client are coming to you, they're already educated in terms of some way they wanted to create some motion guidelines, right? I think most of the time it's sorted in the first level itself.
So I believe like education would be not right word. They might be exposed to the motion guidelines and all,
Mm-hmm.
because like you might have seen recently Decathlon also
Yeah, yeah.
refreshed their identity, right? So they added motion on the cell. Then LG rebranding was also really great. In the same, they also added like a human touch to the same, from symbol to everything. So most of the time clients are exposed to them, and you are like explaining to them like how and like how or maybe why you should add motion guidelines to them. And once also like both works, then I think yeah, it's a great start for anyone, any brand. So yeah.
Cool, cool. So, is it difficult to pitch a company for a motion design guideline?
So I believe yeah, because like if any startup is like starting out, they might have limited budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they might just say like we don't need this right now. Do we really need this? Because the one of the great like work for startup is to get out there as quickly as possible, because for them time is their money. So most of the time it's really difficult to pitch to anyone. Either like use brands like Decathlon, possibly as well. But most of the times, work that I have done, I think, has come from like a studio and anything. So I have never like had to like pitch in or anything so far. So yeah.
Cool, cool. Awesome, man. So, yeah, moving on to the next question. Do you have any project to break down? Can you share any little bit of tiny process that you challenged your skill set and ability to push yourself? Do you have any experience?
So yeah, definitely. You might know this project I work with, Active One Design for Celebrity Art Festival.
Mm-hmm.
So they reached out to me for like creating a showcase reel for them, which was like a brand identity showcase reel, where we are going from symbol, all the key visuals to like every small details of the project. And I thought, how can I take this to a like how can I challenge myself basically, because they were already like interested in the work that I was doing and everything. So it was not like really hard or anything to convince them like how I should do. So one of the thing that I think I took the approach for was like how can I create a film that can be extended into motion guidelines as well. And the solution was pretty simple, I guess, like defining all sorts of principles for the same. So we created like three principles, that was like gather, merging, and upward. So that was like also a tone for the identity as itself as well. And after defining them, I thought of myself how I can extend them. So we defined the principles. After that, we started developing all the storyboards and everything for the film, right? So in the same, we also use those principles. So that was like a full-fledged brand guidelines plus film and everything. That was just defined and directed by these three principles. And what helped a lot was like how they wanted to get out there, how the studio wished to like have the motion out itself as well. So understanding those kind of tones, everything as well. So I think one of the best thing is like you need to like most of the times like work are like we do is like client might just reach out to you and say like change this or something. So best thing you can do is like challenge yourself because at the end work is work, and if they don't like it they will just say no or something.
Yeah, totally understand. So, to do to able to pull off motion guidelines, you must have an understanding of a brand and a brand designer perspective, right? That's what you're mentioning in this project.
Yeah, so like as I said, like on the discovery call, everything happens on like you understanding what the vision is for like the motion, whether film or guidelines or anything. On the discovery call, you are understanding everything, and after that, it's more about what kind of approach you are taking. So I read somewhere it's better to take every project like it's your internship because you are learning literally from ground up about whether your client or like a studio or something, building the like understanding the core principles, core values and everything. So it makes sense to like take that approach.
Totally, man. Understand. So yeah, we are moving on to the end of the podcast. So, so what are your predictions for the motion in coming industry? Sorry, coming
So
years.
yeah, I guess like I can say AI, but that will sound very cliche. But I think you might have seen this Apple Vision Pro, so like and like VR and AR tools and everything. So definitely spatial design and all is something you can look out for. Then there is Sphere, Vega Sphere as well. So those sort of like use, I guess, experiments and installations and all.
Yeah, I think
But if
it will be spatial dimensions also across every
and
space.
yeah, like interactive visuals and everything. You might have seen them a lot as well. And but what I realize is like, so you might know this quote from Steve Jobs as well, like connect the dots looking backwards and not forward, right? So how if I look at that, like if you look at the motion design in the similar way, like if you start from like 12 principles of design, like motion to so far, one thing that has never changed is storytelling aspect of the same, whether it's for like explainer video, any kind of film, title design or anything. So that is something if you have mastered that, then it's more about like how you can adapt to all these new tools that are coming nowadays like
Mhm.
Fable, then Cavalry and everything. So it's like super easy because you already know what sort of message and tone you want to deliver. So I think storytelling is something that should be like a must for anyone. And after that, it's more about what kind of medium and what sort of software and tools and everything you are working on.
Awesome. So the base will be the same as storytelling, but the
Yeah.
mediums, dimensions, screens, and all change. The loading.
Yeah, and also I was having this like a chat with this Gerald Marx Soto from Brand New School,
Mhm.
and he also literally mentioned the same like everything is gonna come. You need to just keep adapting to all the new tools or like plugins and everything
Mm.
because what might be coming like you would never know like when you might be like I don't want to like scare anyone or anything like say out of job or anything, but you literally don't know or no one can literally predict the future. So one of the best thing to be future ready is like adapting to yourself to new sorts of tools, trends and everything to know where you fit and having your base and core principles like to your heart, so you are not like getting lost in all this like noise of new media and everything.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So, coming to the end of the podcast, this is a wildcard question. You can answer if you don't want to, or if you can answer it, you can uh, answer. So, how do you make? How much money you make in a year as a motion designer, and what advice do you for the people that are coming into motion design industry?
All right. I think I'm actually more than happy to share this because a lot of people needs to know like how to value their self and the work they are doing. And again, I'm only sharing this because I feel it's a great opportunity for everyone to know like how much you can make and how much this industry has to offer if you like obviously are like sticking to like your core, and not just doing any sorts of work and just like literally doing anything. So I was like, I won't be able to share the Moto like earnings and everything because of like confidential information and everything. But I'm happy to share like when I was freelancing, I was able to make like 20-25 lakhs a year. This is me talking about profits, and yeah, I think, but again, this is like very rough, like a wild number because as I said, I feel I have gotten very lucky in the industry to be able to work with some of my favorite people, and there are far more talented people and artists out there. So I feel like we're really grateful, I guess, in a many ways. And yeah, I guess like so that's the thing. And advice for anyone starting out. I think there are like lots of free materials and everything out there. So if anyone wants to join into this industry, it's not like a degree or anything, I guess, that you might need to like clear or it's like hard. So one of the great thing would be like understanding all sorts of principle for animation, and as I also mentioned, like storytelling worth of it as well, and figuring out the type of work you want to do. So I had done like all sort of work, like social media to like reels and everything before I even got here. And it took me like 3 or 4 years to get where I am right now. And like it's all one of the advice that I have also gotten is like put out the work that you want to do and understand some of the work, like breaking down the anatomy of the work you like, right? Like, like maybe just take any kind of project you like and try to figure that out why they must have choose this direction, like strategy behind the same art direction and everything. So if you want to be that like ace of all like trades or something, it's very important to like understand all sorts of everything. So I can say like I started more like as a generalist and then sort of found what I really want to do. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So, our last question is: so name five motion designers that you look up to, and that people who have inspired you, and where people can find them, and share your socials as well, if they want to reach out to you for the advice and all.
Yeah, so like I'll literally just see some of from top of my head right now because like you already know ordinary folks work and everything, so I won't be mentioning them because like I believe they are really great that I don't need to mention them at all. But these are some of my favorite creators. One is like Gerard Marx Soto from primary school, as I was saying. He's like a huge inspiration. He has been doing this motion design for like 25 years, so it's like crazy to know. Then Ite travels from Hello Hornet
Mm-hmm.
and Cloud Studio. They
Mm-hmm.
are really great if anyone wants to get into like storyboarding or like style framing for any kind of thing. He has
Mm-hmm.
done literally all sort of work, and like it's incredible to see how fast he works as well. Then Woodwork Amsterdam, they are also a great
Yeah.
studio.
Yeah.
And Anvik Singh, he directed Co Motion 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So I think these are their Instagram handles as well. So
Yeah.
you can find them
Anyone
out.
from India?
And yeah, R Square, you guys definitely.
Thank you. That's why I
Your
asked.
photo videos. Yeah, definitely. There are lots in India as well because
Yeah.
you might already know from our call last time as well because like you were like one of my core inspiration as well when I was starting out like back in 2019 or something when I
Mhm.
didn't knew motion at all and definitely and R Square, Rishabh, Raj. I met Raj in Porbandar last year
Mhm.
as well. It was
Yeah.
really great to see how they work and all as well. So yeah, there are like really great artists in here as well, and people are already aware of them. So I don't even feel like mentioning them because I'm like literally just getting started, and they have accomplished so much. So yeah, definitely.
Awesome, man. So how do people find you?
You can find me on my Instagram. That's called the Artolist, or my website, theartolist.com.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, that's our end of the podcast. Vishal, do you have any questions to us to ask Ankit?
No, actually, it's been, I think, like, considering this is our first podcast, I think we did a pretty good job. And, like, hopefully, we'll have more down the line. And, we're hoping this could be a regular thing, just like Toggle is. So this is, and I think like this was all Amin's idea to start a podcast because people needed to, find artists in India and get more connected with them. So yeah, looking forward to more, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome, man. Cool. Thanks, Ankit. Thank you for coming podcast. I'll be asking you to share the links to the people that you've mentioned, so
Yeah,
we
for
can
sure.
put them down in the description somewhat. People can
For
follow them.
sure. Thank you so much for having me as well. It was a great honor to be first on the podcast. So yeah, really
Thanks.
looking forward to more great podcasts as well.
It was our pleasure to bring you on first. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.